right, hey, welcome to HIT. This is Chris Cicchinelli, and we're talking everything high-intensity tactics for growth. And today's topic is going to be fantastic. We're talking about casting movies and how it relates to success in business. Shawshank Redemption is going to come up in this topic. I don't know why. One of my favorite movies ever. But we're going to be talking a little bit about this today because it's time to get real on casting the right people to make your business success. Also, who better than a woman who has casted movies, ran theaters for the last 25 years, and has seen Shawshank Redemption and have you think of her? Please welcome to HIT, Miss Meyers. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm awesome. I mean, I know right now you're working at the Ensemble Theatre in Cincinnati,
I am.
doing a lot of stuff, and also just came over from, producing a show for the opera coming up.
We just had our first workshop for a new opera this summer. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, hey, listen, I was, as I went through all your bio and going through this, I mean, I was uberly impressed, and I'm sitting here thinking, geez, so Pete, I need to work with my publicist on making sure that this looks like I was like, okay, I can't wait to get to interview her today. So, all right, give us a brief background on in a brief. I was like, this is like telling the encyclopedia to go down to a couple pages.
Oh, so. No, there's no way for me to go but down from that intro. I mean, I'm going to be a complete disappointment here. Native Cincinnatian, grew up West Side, went to Thomas More College, and started for a decade at Cincinnati Playhouse, and then went everywhere, never expecting to be back in Cincinnati except for the holidays.
You and I share the same thing.
Yeah, never thought I'd be back. Boomerang, like I can't even tell you. Came back all these years ago for a 3-month job to try to help close Ensemble Theatre.
Yeah.
And instead, here we are successfully 25 years later. The house in California is in the path of wildfires, which is terrifying, but never thought I'd be back. But when I got back, I love my city. I had the opportunity throughout my travels to LA, New York, and a lot of time in Canada, oddly enough. I directed a lot in Canada, to end up doing not only a lot of stage directing, but a lot of film casting and a lot of television casting. And it's my favorite job to give people jobs. I like working hard, so I get to work hard again tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because people probably are going to listen to HIT and go, gosh, what does, casting for movies and casting for TV has to do with anything with HIT and business and anything like that? I mean, it's so intertwined.
Oh, completely. And Ensemble Theatre wouldn't be here as a successful, really nationally known theater organization if we didn't cast the right people to run it.
Yeah.
And we have an incredible team.
Yeah.
So they're the cast that runs this theater, and that taught me a lot. And you have to make quick decisions in business as well as in the film industry and the theater industry. You don't get to think about casting or hiring somebody for 6 months. You usually have about 3 hours, to line up your best candidates and make a choice. And some of that's instinct and some of it is just practice.
But here's the thing, with everything that's going on today, everybody wants you to take this test or this personality test or that test. You have 3 hours to make a decision on somebody for a starting role, starting position inside of the play, TV show, whatever it might be. I mean, yes, you've been doing it for a long period of time, and you think about it, but how does one make those decisions? I mean, is it intuitive?
Well, I think part of it's intuitive, but a lot of it has to do with people being honest. It's interesting. I tell actors, don't pretend to be the character. You'd show me what you'd do if you were in this person's shoes.
Yeah.
And in business, I do the same thing. I get to know the person. The resume's great. All of the references are great, but when you meet somebody, if they look you in the eye, if they're honest, if it feels right. And if it doesn't feel right, over years of doing this, I walk away.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get criticized a lot for not making an obvious choice. But inevitably, the non-obvious choice seems to be the coolest one. I'm looking at a team that I work with now. Most of my team's been with me for over 10 years. That's amazing in this time to keep people for over a decade. But it's about, having a good chooser.
Yeah.
I think companies go down when they just have bad choosers.
I've had some bad choosers. I'm not gonna lie to you, but
I have too.
But
That's
you know
how I
what?
learn.
That you learn, and now I have the process that I don't hire anybody anymore unless I'm actually in that room.
Right.
If I have to come to work every day and I have to be with the team of folks that are going to be here, that are going to be an extension of myself to my sales force or my team, I want to know who they are. I want to know. Everybody's like, why do you want to talk to a customer service rep? I'm like, because she's going to be answering the phone and she's going to be talking to a customer. So, And I think that I probably hired some bad characters or bad actresses or bad actors. We all do.
Oh, I have lists.
I mean, but the good news is that you try to get more right than wrong.
You do.
So, all right. So let me ask you this question. So how does film casting relate to businesses, and what have you learned that you could share with business owners and entrepreneurs?
Well, I think instinct is if you're a business owner, you care about that. That's your livelihood. That's the core of what makes you a family, the people you work with. And you think about it, we're with the people we work with as much, if not more, than our families.
Yeah.
And that may not be a good decision, but it's true. It's just true. I spend a lot more time in the building at Ensemble and in casting rooms for films than I do in my backyard.
Yeah.
So you have to surround yourself with like-minded people and people who will challenge you. So if you think about people, everything's great. That's probably not the person to hire. What's great is in an interview, whether it's for a film or whether it's for a job, I want to say, well, what do you think we could do better? Or what did you like about this? Or what didn't you like about that? Or what doesn't make sense to you? If they challenge me, if they have a good conversation, then I know they're just not somebody who's going to go, yeah, because we don't need that. Mm-hmm. We don't need that in a film. We don't need that in the theater. We certainly don't need that in business.
Yeah.
And the film industry is an enormous business. It's an enormous business. It brings so much money to this region. The arts is a spectacular economic engine for this area. I mean, I'm very proud that Ensemble Theater really helped transform Over the Rhine.
Yeah.
It did. 35 years in that location. I wasn't here 35 years, but the theater was. Mm-hmm. We've gone from ghost town to, Saturday night place to be. Heck, Tuesday night place to be. But you do that by having the right team of people that are around you that are like, yeah, I'll take the challenge of that dealer on the corner. Yeah. I'll help you figure that out. I'll help you figure out what to do about, the people who can't afford a $10 hot dog. How do we get them into the theater? Mm-hmm. And in a film, you have to look at the fact that these people live together. When you're making a film, it may be 6 to 8 weeks of intense togetherness with everybody from the scout who checks the locations out to the head of the film commission to the lead actress to somebody who's an extra in one scene. So what you have to do is you have to pick people that you would want to be with in a confined location for 6 to 8 weeks. People that are going to show up, people that are going to care, people that make it about the project as opposed to about them. And they get jazzed by what they can bring to the project.
But let me ask you this question, because I was reading Simon Sinek had a book, Starts with a Y, and it talks about somebody setting sail and they get stuck in 6 months out. They're on this iceberg, and they were actually stuck until 12 months out there. Nobody died, nobody whatever. But he said it was because the way they marketed for the job, the way they told it, like if you're looking for, low pay, no possible chance of not coming home, being truthful up front. And he goes, and not one person, everybody, we all made it home. Right. And it's the same thing. It's like how employers sometimes need to be a little bit more honest with the job and be like upfront. Like I always tell people, it's not an easy place to work. It's fast paced. Right. You know what? We spend more time. I use the same thing. We spend more time here, with each other than we do with our families. And I think if those are properly set up and people know what they're walking into and the expectations, I'm on that same point.
You just have to be honest.
Yeah.
You have to be honest, and you're going to know from the look in their eye. You're going to know if they want a 9 to 5 gig. Don't come here.
Yeah, I mean, like nobody. I mean, like that the 9 to 5 thing. That I think that left with Dolly Parton in that movie. I mean, there's just we were. I was just talking to Mary Stagman today, and the 9 to 5 thing is done. I mean, nobody. I mean, we are all people are searching for work-life balance. I'm like, you have one life, and just live it to the best that you possibly can. It, is important, and that was one of my life lessons.
I completely and totally, because it's a 7-day week. There's no, there's no breaks. I mean, how many people do you know that take, summer vacations? I mean, that's
not
all what used to
ones.
be.
Nope.
No, it doesn't happen. And if the first thing somebody asks you is, well, what's the schedule? Then just move on. Just get on to the next person, because I can't tell you.
My HR people get frustrated because when someone goes, so what's the vacation time? And I say, I don't know.
Right.
They're like, well, that's part of the compensation plan. I said, well, I don't really know because I don't really, that's not how my mind works.
Well, we can't live in the future.
No.
We can't tell, February is going to be really light. Well, you know what? February might be the toughest month that any company is going to have. I think, film production in the winter will be slow. No. I'm casting Christmas Eve. I had a casting session 2 years ago, New Year's Day, we were having casting sessions. Why? People were off work.
Yeah.
So they could come in.
Yeah.
So Happy New Year.
Yeah.
You do what it takes.
You have to. And I'm looking at this, so you've often taken a lot of risks in your career. I mean, you've worked a lot, you've done a lot of different stuff. What would you say is one of the biggest risks that you've done, and your advice on risk taking?
Well, the biggest risk I took was coming back. Frankly, that's to be true. I was doing really well in LA, had a great life, all that stuff was going well. But I came back and I got so angry I had to stay.
Yeah.
And then I had this opportunity to do work with the social conscience in over the Rhine in my hometown, where I used to run around at Findlay Market as a kid, when my grandpa worked there. It was just too cool of an opportunity, and I risked everything. Enormous financial sacrifice, enormous loss of connections that I had built over years in LA and New York, all of that. I was like, well, I'm going to trade all that away for the 1100 block of Vine Street. And I didn't. The truth is, I was wrong. I mean, there were a lot of hits, and it was a lot of my life. Over a third of my life I've been there. But the deal was, the reward was so incredibly different. It may not have been financial, it may not have been schedule. It was really long hours and really no pay and really tough neighborhood, but I had this freedom to make something out of something that was going to go away.
Yeah.
Who gets that shot? It was the biggest risk, because I really did a lot of stuff by the book, work my way up, work that credit score, do all that stuff. And then you come in and you blow it all up. And and I'm happy. Yeah. And I think that had I not taken that really big risk with the rest of my career, essentially, I don't know where I'd be, but I really doubt that I'd feel this good.
Yeah. It goes back to your purpose, right? It's like it's a higher being. A lot of people do things for money. A lot of people do things for fame. Sometimes you do things for purpose,
right.
And your purpose was 1100 Vine.
Right.
I want to see this thing that I know and have affection to be able to rise the phoenix, right? Rise from the ashes, because it was pretty much dead.
It was really bad.
Dead. Yeah.
And then it got worse.
Yeah.
So it was really bad in the late 90s, and then 01 happened and it got much worse.
Yeah.
So, but you have to be in to ride it all the way, which is what you look for when you hire people and when I look for when I cast people. And I just was in. Yeah. I just threw it all in, because of the potential. And the potential now is, what we've achieved is great, but oh my gosh, what can come in the future?
But that's the thing with, and just to do this, because you're running a business, right? And you have this. That's what I see too many business owners. They give up way too soon. They do not know how far the bottom is. Most people give up halfway, and they're like, oh my God, the pain is too hard. I don't want to do it. And then, you know what? They never see the bounce back. They don't see the possibilities. And, I speak to business owners all the time. And when I looked at this and I went through it, I was like, man, this is a story of like grit. Just sticking it out, moving and being part of absolute change. A lot of people don't have that appetite for.
But it's the best appetite to have, because you're never filled.
No.
You're never satisfied. You just want to go, oh, that was a great course. Bring on the next one, Yeah. And, I'm going to wait forever for dessert because you just get so rewarded and filled by every day.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think to be completely wiped out because you gave it your all is a great feeling.
And it is. And we have a lot of business owners that listen to this, a lot of, female entrepreneurs that are out there every day. And there's so many times that they feel that, there are so many doors that are shut in front of them, and the opportunity, like, man, I'm not making it. I don't feel like I'm making a difference. I'm running the kids. I'm running, I'm running my business. I'm trying to run my significant other. I got family members, all this. The thing of balance today is just, it's too many people put too much pressure on themselves. I feel like, to try to be everything they possibly can. I mean, how do you deal with, doing a bunch of different activities, community, ensemble theater, being a female entrepreneur?
It's recognizing it'll never be balanced. And that doesn't mean that's a cop-out. It just means that the urgency of the moment and the urgency that gets me to a better next moment is what I do. And sometimes that's, hey, you know what? I need to go home and spend the evening with my mom. I need to do that.
Yeah.
Or you know what? I need to go sit in my car and sing as loud as I can, very badly, along with the radio, because I got to get this angst out of me so I can go back in there and be a human being to the people that are working with me.
Yeah.
It is about knowing that you got to try to do it all, and you marvel at what you do, but you also have to give yourself credit for doing it.
Yeah.
If you have 12, and I'm a big list maker, so if I have 12 things on the list and I get through 4, instead of feeling like I'm a failure, I have to go, great,
Good.
I'm down to 8. you know,
Yeah.
and then tomorrow, the next day, I'll have more on it. But you have to stop, take a breath, and go, I got something done.
Yeah.
You know what? I did that. And I can't fathom the parents with kids running. I mean, soccer seems to be, I don't know, that seems to be like changing the Constitution of the United States. It is so incredibly, enormously time-consuming, soccer, that my hat's off to anybody who does the soccer runs. But at the end of that game, and you tuck that kid in, it's got to feel great.
Yeah, I mean, I sit back and I'm thinking, there's just so many things that are, you see business owners today. All right, what is one of your favorite projects you've ever worked on?
Well, I mean, we did mention Shawshank
I know.
earlier. I mean, it was the first movie, okay? The first movie. Somebody asked me to be involved in casting for a couple little things before that, but then all of a sudden this movie comes up that I happened to be in LA at the time. I was given the script by Deb Aquila, who did the principal casting, and I sat on the Paramount lot because I was so starstruck that I was on the Paramount lot in a car sitting there. I thought I was so cool. I sat in the lot and read the script, and I'm sobbing. And I go back into her office an hour later, and she looks at me and she's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "I just read this movie. I'll do this. I'll do anything to work on this movie. I'll do anything for this movie. I'll do this movie for free." And she said, "Don't say that." But it was the most extraordinary experience to see Frank Darabont's creation out of this novella of this brilliant Stephen King's mind into casting it non-traditionally. So the very first film I worked on cast Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman, who nobody believed could sell a movie. They thought they'd have to sell it just on Stephen King. Not like that was a small thing to sell it on, but Red in the book was a hot-headed Irishman. And here comes Morgan Freeman. And Tim Robbins, he's a fabulous actor and very politically active and all of that. But he was going to play an innocent guy. But he had that vision, and then all the whole rest of that cast fell into it. And we did auditions in the basement of a pet store in Mansfield, Ohio, in 90-degree heat, and we were seeing all these local actors, and it smelled like, dogs and cats and hamsters. And the great producer, Nicky Marvin, and Frank Darabont, this wonderful director, they sat in there with me. We got it done. And every day on that shoot was like, I don't know, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, everything rolled into one day because these people were so dedicated. And it was just amazing. And then it turned out to be this incredible movie that sustains itself because it's about never losing hope. So how cool to be part of a team. And I do believe that's a movie for the ages. I think that movie holds up. And I'm not just saying it because I love it, but that thing about having hope, we all need that. End of that movie makes me happy. I can't tell you how many times I've just played the end just to go, Red got out. We can do it. It is the way you're saying that is absolutely true. It is one for the ages. I think it's on TNT or something. It's everywhere. AMC every other weekend. It's on. But how when you sit back and you think about that in that room, casting, how much discussion was around the members, and how did they bring Morgan Freeman and you talk about those two actors together. How do they go? These are going to fit together like peanut butter and jelly. That's an inspiration of a director. I mean, that's Frank Darabont, who did the adaptation of the novella into the screenplay. That's his. He said, when somebody said, "Why would you hire Morgan Freeman? Do you know him?" He said, "No, but if I were in prison, I'd want him to be my best friend." So that's how much of a heart instinct goes into casting something. To me, that's one of the greatest stories. He didn't know that man. He hadn't met that man, but he looked at that man's work and he looked at that man's face and he thought, yeah, I'd want him to be my best friend. And sometimes you just have to go from your heart. There are actors, there's directors that have seen wonderful, wonderful actors, and they've passed on them. And when I say why, they're like, they just didn't hit a chord with me, or they reminded me of somebody that, was negative in my life. So it's not always stand and deliver the best performance. It's just be the best you are, and that gets you the job.
That's awesome. What are some of the biggest takeaways that you've had from, kind of running businesses, and doing all this amazing work?
Stop thinking it's going to be okay. I guess, it's great, but it's never just calm and okay. It's great. It's scary. You go through your ups, you go through your downs. So I've stopped looking for the place where it's going to be fine and good. No, it's always going to be a challenge. Now I've started to get sort of like, high on the idea of that,
Yeah.
of what's next. It's really exciting to see what's next, but it's also terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing too is to make sure that you can't eat failure every day. I have made some huge mistakes, but if I ate that failure, and if I lived in the failure, and if I lived of, why, if I just had made a different decision, hindsight, it'll completely fill you that you can't go forward. So I had to learn to let go of some of that. I'm still hard on myself, which I think everybody should be, but to the point, you can't do to the point that you cripple yourself to be able to go forward. Because if you don't, the people around you that are depending on you can't. And you owe it to them. And you owe it to whatever that purpose is, whatever that business is, whatever that vision is. You owe it to not drown in your failure.
Lynn, I'm telling you right now, I want you to come back. I've had so much fun talking to you. And here's the thing: you got a big project on task right now at the opera. What's going on with that? I know you came in. I know that was a little off script, but I want to know because I think this is kind of fun.
It is fun and it's fascinating and terrifying.
Yeah.
Opera directing a world premiere opera entitled Fierce with Sheila Williams' wonderful libretto and William Menefield's score. It couldn't be cooler. It is a composite of 10 women from the Music Resource Center and Wordplay that Sheila and William worked with over these past several years, and they made 4 women composite, and it is fierce and about contemporary young women today.
Yeah.
And there's some trolls in it that are, online trollers, and the pressures that young women are facing. It is so exciting. And Evans and the entire team at the opera has been so welcoming. And I can literally walk across the park from Ensemble Theatre to the opera. I mean, it couldn't be a better gig. And that opens mid-June.
Oh, good. Well,
Mid-June.
you know what? Mid-June. We will definitely be there because that would be something to see. We, again, appreciate your time coming in here.
Thrilled to be here.
Thank you, Lynn Meyers of the Ensemble Theatre here in Cincinnati.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Remember, you've always have the pen to change your chapters. Live life by design, not by default. Have a great day, everyone.